Hi, hello, welcome. I am going to film today because I do have some goals when it comes to creative projects and I kind of want to make a plan. Nothing too intense. If you saw the previous video, which was the first video I've posted in like at least 2 months, I think, I had a landscaping job from March to the end of April. And with that plus my other work, I was just working a lot and I didn't have time to do much of anything else. And even when I did have a bit of time, I just didn't have the energy, which means that my creative projects suffered. I just didn't really work on any sort of creative projects. I'm feeling like I'm in a better place now to start working on creative projects. I'm actually in Holland. I'm in the Netherlands visiting family. And since the landscaping job has ended and I am now moving into a second contract, remote job that I'm so excited for and is actually more so in the writing, publishing industry. And I'm really excited about that. So I don't know. I think that I should have more time when I get back to Canada and now to actually spend some more energy on my creative projects, and I've really been missing that. So the goal of this video is to just do some habits that support myself and my mental health, and also start to kind of I don't know, sift through the creative projects I've been working on, make some decisions, make a plan, figure out what I want to do next. As you can tell, I'm a little sick. Maybe you can tell. It's not that bad. I have a cold though, and my sinuses are just fully clogged up, which is super fun, but I feel good. So that's what matters. So I'm going to try and start the day with some exercise. I'm going to go for a run. I don't know how that's going to go with this whole situation. That's what I'm going to start the day with. Came to sit outside because I thought that it would be nice, but the weather has changed. So if the location changes, it's because I started to get rained on. So here's what's going on right now. I would like to be writing something. I am still working on the poetry collection. It's slow but steady, still aiming to have that out by the end of the summer. And now that my job situation has changed and I'm going to be closer to working more flexible hours that are more similar to what I was doing last year, I am able to start working on some sort of long fiction project again, which is great. But now the problem that I'm running into is that I kind of don't want that project to be between the waves right now. I want to preface and say I still have every intention of publishing Between the Waves at this point in time. I'm in love with that story. I am in love with the characters. I've spent so much time with them. I think the world is incredible. Even with all of the stress and back and forth and confusion around that story, I still think that something really beautiful and magical has been created there. And as someone with imposter syndrome that struggles to give compliments to herself, I know that's a good story. And that's a really good sign for me. I don't think there's any question about it. The thing is right now is that I have not, for the past few months at least, even before the whole work stuff happened, I just haven't wanted to work on it. I haven't had clarity around it. And I still think that clarity is going to come, but I think that forcing myself, muscling through it, is not the way to do it right now because I have already tried that multiple times. So, with that being said, Between the Waves is getting put on pause. Let's say that we're shelving it, but we're putting it on a lower shelf that is easy to access, rather than putting it up on a high shelf where it's just going to collect dust and never be looked at again. At the end of the day, even if I am self-publishing, I don't want to get something out there just for the hell of it, just to get it out there. And I also think, I know that like the first time you self-publish a novel, you have to accept that it's going to be the worst that it's ever going to be, like the worst that your writing is ever going to be. It's probably going to be the, you know, least developed, weakest story that you ever release compared to, you know, everything that you release after. And I accept that. I know that sometimes you just have to get it out there. I just don't know if Between the Waves is gonna be that anymore. It still might be, but I need some distance and I need some clarity and I need some more experience. So what that's gonna look like is me working on something else. I haven't quite decided yet what I wanna work on. So I also wanna thank the sponsor of this video, which is Scrintal. I will be using Scrintal today to kind of sort out all of the projects and ideas that I currently have that are fleshed out enough for me to actually do something with them at this point. So Scrintal is an online note-taking platform that you can use for brainstorming, whiteboarding, taking notes, scrapbooking together ideas and like projects that you want to look through. It's got tons of tools and functionality. I generally just use the basics, which is kind of just I will create sort of like a mind map. So I'll add images, little notes, titles, kind of like organized clusters, because that's how my brain works anyways. And it's really nice to see like kind of a visual depiction of it in Scrintal. So I have documents basically that have all of my writing ideas that I have ever had, most of them at least. But I would like the visual representation that Scrintal offers. So I'm gonna take that document and kind of like convert it into a Scrintal mind map or sort of brainstorm board. And while I'm doing that, we're just gonna see which project I feel most drawn to at this point in time. Because right now, Between the Waves needs a break. I need to work on a new project. And in order to do that, I really need to revisit all of the projects that I have had in the back of my mind, things I've worked on, because it's been a long time since I actually reviewed and like was familiar with all of the potential stories in my mind. So you can see that I'm trying to put together like visual depictions because I find that very helpful. It gives me the vibes, it gives me the themes, the kind of concepts that will be in the books, and I like to have that kind of like multimedia representation of what my projects are going to look like, which Scrintal is fantastic for. So thank you again to Scrintal for sponsoring this video. I will leave all of their information linked down below so you can check out the platform. So yeah, my priorities also with choosing a new project is I want to choose an idea that feels easy right now. And what I mean by easy is just like something that feels fun, something that feels like it has a clear direction and like it has a clear soul. I talk about the soul of the story a lot. And that's like the soul of the story normally comes from the moment when I had the idea for the story, or a little bit further down the road, but it's just this idea that like there's something that attaches me to the story and something that it feels like needs to be told through the story. And usually that's what I refer to as like the soul of the story. So something that has a really clear, obvious soul to it, because that makes it easier for me to actually develop the story. And Between the Waves has been hard for a long time, and it feels humbling is not the right word. It's difficult to admit that because it feels like some people work on the same stories for 10 years, you know, and they just keep pushing. And sometimes it feels like if I've quit or shelved it even temporarily after 3.5 years, then like, what does that say about me? But at the same time, I want to explore more stories and I know my brain now and I want to switch to something else, and I think I have to trust that switching to something else now, temporarily, will be better for Between the Waves down the road. Because I also think Between the Waves deserves more. Like, I think that if I wrote 3 more books, 3 more like complete standalone fantasy novels, for example, I think that that would do more justice to Between the Waves. But I guess that would do more justice to any book I wrote, so I don't know if that's really like a really good reason. I digress. What was I talking about? So yeah, I want something easy. I want a project that feels easy to get into right now, because I think, like I said, Between the Waves has been really difficult for like the past year and a half. So right now I just feel like I need something easy. I also want something that is going to be a standalone. And to be honest, I think that I need to learn to do that. Like, I think I need to learn how to write a standalone from start to finish, all compact in one book and tied with a pretty ribbon, and that's it. I think that would be a really good practice for me to explore right now. Even just as far as like story structure goes, I think that would be really good for me to work on. Even the story that I wrote back in 2021, Blood of Amberum, my brain was like, oh, it should be a series. So I don't think I've ever written a standalone. Even Between the Waves, I was like, oh, it should be a standalone with series potential, but then it, as we know, it got all messed up and it never was actually that. That's where we're at. I'm gonna finish with the Scrintal board and organizing all of the different projects that I currently have floating around in my mind. I'm gonna have to dust them off a little bit and like wipe down the windows to see into them, because it's been a long time since I looked at all of them. And then from there, I'm gonna try and pick something that I feel the most called to, I feel like is gonna be the most fun, you know? Okay, I need to go inside or I'm just gonna get sick again. I'm still sick. Okay, we've gotten somewhere. Let's discuss. So there's a couple projects that I probably will stay away from, that I have some ideas for, but they're very, very like beginning stages. The White Dragon one is one of those. It's like so beginning stage. It's also based on a recurring dream that I used to have as a kid that then changed into a different recurring dream when I got older. And I'm just like, I don't feel like writing that one yet because I feel like it's going to be a big one. There is one that I had a short story idea for that I think would be really cool. It's like a kind of whimsical adventure fantasy short, I guess, called The Tavern in Oran Woods. So I think at some point maybe I actually will explore that one a little bit more, just because the intention is for it to be a short story, which would be cool. Or maybe even like a little novella. I don't really know. And then there's one that is called Guild of Flame and Shadow. It has a bit more than just like beginning stages. Like I actually started to write the first chapter of that one. It's about a brother and sister that basically attend a school for mages, and then one of their magic kind of starts to go a little bit haywire, which occasionally happens, but when that happens, bad things happen to the mages. Generally they're either thrown in prison to like so that they don't harm others, or they're killed. So dark, I know. So basically they flee their school in order to try and find a way to fix her magic. That's like the foundation of it. I think when I came up with that story idea, I actually came up with like the final scene. So that one's a little bit more developed, but still not as much as like the others that I have in the other section. The one story that is not really developed at all, but that I've had a couple like snippets come to mind, but I'm talking like snippets that are just like a couple sentences, a couple ideas, maybe a descriptive paragraph. So it would really need to be pieced together and like characters developed and like an actual story found in it, is the Project Circus. I think I would really enjoy writing that one. So even though there's not much to it right now, that's definitely an option for me to start exploring, because I think that would be fun. So that one has potential. There is a sci-fi that I think I've spoken about before. It's called Society 13, but I will be avoiding that one like for probably multiple more years, because that book, so it's a sci-fi, it's dystopian, it's based on an actual historical person basically, and event that happened with this person. that I really wanted to explore the potential of like the discovery basically that this person had. The issue is that the research that is gonna have to go into Society 13 in order to do it justice in the way that I want to is like research that I'm not prepared to do right now. I think it's gonna be pretty intensive research, but I want to make that story happen at some point. I just don't think that's gonna be the one right now. So that means that the options that we have now are Tara of Silver, which is the one that I was talking about where the first chapter is actually on my Patreon. It might be the first 2 chapters. I've written the first couple of chapters at least. I think I got to chapter 3. I think I would enjoy writing that one. I also have Project Raven up there. I feel like I forget about Project Raven a lot. I'm not sure why. I think it slips my mind because it's such a like... I don't know what to call it. I mean, to be fair, I think when I first started writing Project Raven, it was very tropey because it was basically all the tropes that I loved about a dark fantasy with romance and like dark academia. I just like crammed it into that book, I think, because I just wanted to write something that was very like, I don't know, I want to say dark and seductive and adventurous and like romantic. And I really wanted to write something like that. So I was just writing it for fun. The thing now is that the reason I've added it is because I think it's become less tropey because as I wrote it, a more, let's say, original or like a more interesting story developed that no longer suited some of the tropes because it was kind of becoming its own thing rather than just all the things that I enjoyed about stories at that point in time. So Project Raven has been included because I actually think it's going in a really interesting direction. And even though I've been working on it for fun, I think I'll continue to work on it for fun, but I think that I might develop it into a book that maybe I'll actually release at some point. Like I want to actually finish it now because before it was just, I just write it for fun. It'll probably never be done, but that seems to be changing. And then we've got Project Geo, which I've spoken about. That one is about dragons and a geologist, believe it or not, but like geologist in the sense that they also get to use like magic. That one is very much like a quest book. I have a lot figured out for Project Geo, so that might be the easiest one for me to actually start on. Oh, also for Project Geo, I have like the first, I want to say 10,000 words written of it, and I've actually reviewed those 10,000 words a couple times and I like it. Like I like where it's going. So yeah, like Project Geo has a good starting point basically. And then there's Project White Knight, which I think I wrote the first chapter maybe. It has a lot of ideas. It has a lot of like snippets of ideas that I've kind of like put into a document. So it's been getting developed and it's been having ideas for the past like 4 years. So yeah, all of these have potential. Some of them I'm definitely not going to work on right now just because of what they require or like how I'm feeling about them. But that's kind of like a fun overview of the projects that are fleshed out enough that I think they're actually starting to like take their own form. I still don't know which one I'm going to start on, but the contenders are Project Geo, Project Raven, Project White Knight, Tara of Silver, and then Project Circus, just because maybe it would be fun to start something new. Maybe that's what my brain wants right now. So that's 5 like with strong potential for me to work on. I will say also there's a chance that I would avoid Project Raven only because I think Project Raven would maybe be a series, like not necessarily a standalone. I don't know. I'm not sure. So I've talked a lot. I'm actually going to take the next couple of days, maybe the next week or so, to, I don't know, do a little bit of brainstorming for each of the projects that have potential for me to be working on them right now. I'm going to see kind of what I'm drawn to. I'm probably going to start making some outlines for each of them, some like very loose outlines, doing some brainstorming for plot points just to see what feels like it's flowing and what I feel excited about. And then I'm gonna decide which one to actually like dive into. I just wanted to say thank you again to Scrintal for sponsoring this video. I always, enjoy making sort of like a visual mind map, organizing my thoughts, my projects. I find it very helpful. I also just love seeing like the mood boards all like pinned together. So yeah, I'll leave links for Scrintal down below if you're interested in checking them out. I'm gonna end the video here because I think I've talked a lot. but there will be more videos to come because I'm gonna be going through this process and finding something new to work on now that I have the time. So thank you so much for being here, for sticking with me over the past 2 months. It's like not surprising that over the past 2 months and then the week of travel last week, I got sick this week. I finally slowed down and my body was like, now seems like a good time. So yeah, just a reminder to take care of yourselves and try to slow down when you can. I hope your creative projects are going well, and I will see you in the next video.